All right, welcome to concept 3 of the labor movement. So in this concept, we'll be discussing the double standard of social morality for labor and capital, and show how this double standard led to industrial conflict. The late 19th century had a double standard for social morality for labor and capital. It was a combination of capital was regarded as in accordance with natural laws, but a combination of labor was considered a conspiracy. Combination meaning organization, like a trust for capital or monopoly. A organization would be a union for labor. It was the duty of government to protect corporate interests, as we saw with the 14th Amendment, but government aid to labor or protection of individuals within society from exploitation was viewed as socialism. Property had a natural right to fair return on its value, but the return which labor was to enjoy was strictly regulated by the law of supply and demand. This worked fine for labor until 1860, while there were more jobs than people. After 1860, when the reverse occurred and unemployment became a permanent aspect of society, industrial conflict became more prominent as a solution to solving the questions raised by the double standard of social morality. As industrial conflict developed between labor and management, the radical unionists' failure to meet the needs of the workers led to the emergence of trade union tactics. Trade union tactics consisted of strikes and boycotts. The direct result of the strike and boycotts was a backlash against labor and the loss of support and sympathy for its causes. As labor came up with the strike and boycott, business retaliated with lockout blacklists and injunctions, and the use of company police or National Guard. These tactics resulted in uninterrupted industrial conflict that frequently broke out into pretty nasty violent episodes that bordered on absolute warfare, which assume an example of this can be seen with the Great Strike of 1877. It was the first major industrial conflict in our history, and occurred when 4 eastern railroads announced a planned wage cut of 10%, the second since the Panic of 1873. Without adequate organization, the railroad employees struck, and with the support of a huge army of hungry, desperate, unemployed, the strike flared up into something that seemed to respectable folks like a rebellion. In Baltimore, respectable meaning quotes around it. The workers were quite respectable themselves. In Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Chicago, San Francisco, and elsewhere, there were pitched battles between militia and the mob. Order was restored only by federal troops. American complacency received a shock which was only partially alleviated by the notion that foreign agitators alone were responsible for the disorder. The people wouldn't blame the system, but found a scapegoat in the immigrant. Right? Sound familiar? And so majority of people outside of the direct conflict, the working class, would blame immigrants. And immigrants back then would have been Eastern Europeans or Italians. As a result, the courts clamped down, the police became more ruthless, and the public began to withdraw its sympathy from the labor movement. Only the most far-sighted realized that the country had reached a stage of industrial evolution, which meant that the Great Strike of 1877 would be only the first of a long series of battles between labor and capital. Management believed that workers were holding back progress by resisting technological changes, while the workers argued that the company was refusing to share fairly the fruits of more efficient operation. The indirect result of industrial conflict was labor and social legislation, which we'll look at in the next concept. So let me know if you have any questions or concerns, and I'll talk to you guys later.